So it's here, and they come and they go, because it's hard, not very profitable work for anybody. I'll talk just very quickly about the economics of this. The varieties, the co-op price for a kilo of wool, any guesses?
I don't need to guess.
You don't need to guess. I know. Anybody else want to take a stab?
Couple bucks a pound?
Pardon?
A couple bucks a pound?
37 cents. Do you know what it costs to shear one sheep?
I wouldn't.
$12.
Exactly, on the nose. On the nose. And I do not begrudge a penny of it. Peter is just wonderfully skilled, but you can see if you've got an animal that will produce 3 to 6 pounds in a 6-month fleece. I'm not going to do the conversions up here in public. And you're paying $12 an animal, and you're going to lose half the weight as you skirt it and process it. The economics get a little bit bleak. And so we've managed by, we didn't expect to be a breeder when we got these creatures. We got them for the wool, but we are the foundation block in Western Canada. And so 50% of our income came from breeding stock, 25% from wool, and 25% from meat. And that proportion shifted through the year because sometimes everybody went for breeding stock and some years nobody did. So it's really, it's a surprise every year. So I brought skeins of yarn that have been processed in 3 different ways. 2 of them are from 2 different mills. There's one hand spun. Don't remember what the, I have to get to my notes here. Okay, there we go. All of the yarns over there are 3-ply, except for a dyed lace weight. And the folks who did the lace weight suffered for that. It's beautiful, but they'll never do it again. And I'm sad, but I understand. We asked a lot of them. These are the natural colors. This is one mill, and this is another one. These are 2 commercial mills, 3-ply. So take a close look at them on the table. This, I read, is hand spun. Oops, it's llama and Icelandic hand spun that I must have done once upon a time. And the Icelandic and silk, 3-ply again. It dyes beautifully. Here we have natural dyeing done by our para with our wool, and it just takes it up beautifully. And here's that famous lace weight with Lancet dyes that I did.
I have some.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. I can't think of a better place. Okay, and this is, there were 3 colors that came in, not the bright green. And I thought, I've got to figure out how to knit that in one garment. And that is obviously much worn and much loved. But that's straight Icelandic from the mill that did the brown, the dark brown. This is Shayna Chemetov, who, now we're into the inspiration part. I'm winding up. And I just want to show you the range of things that people have done, but we have had so many fabulous things walk in the door tonight. We've got some really beautiful things that people have made out of our wool, and I thank every one of you who brought some. It's great. Shayna made this pretty classical sweater out of hand spun Icelandic. This is pretty cool. There's an art, somebody called from Vancouver and said, "Hi, I'm an wanted wool and came over and bought a bunch of fleeces. And what she does is make dioramas. She went to Iceland on fellowship as a painter and said, but there's all this wool here. And so she creates these dioramas and photographs them. And this is our wool in a photograph. Her name is Esther Berghart, and she's got a terrific website. It's really interesting. Plus a CBC short clip of her, part of which was filmed on the farm. She called and said, you know, the sheep are Iceland and Canada are what I'm trying to incorporate here, and can we film here? So our sheep Franny is famous. And what else is coming here? Yes, this is somebody who just bought a fleece from us, a woman named Carolyn Pattinson. Wow, how great. And her Instagram site, she's Carolyn_K_designs. She's in Vancouver. And thanks to all of you who allowed me to use these pictures. It's great talking to you. And Tatiana got really interested when I said, yes, you can knit directly from a fleece. And that's something you can do with a double-coated animal because it'll give you enough structural integrity to knit. And we first saw this in Norway. And I just love this because it's the raw fleece and put onto the needles and knit. And she made squares. This is Anamor Sundtbo.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have her books,
The
amazing
sweater-
stuff.
The sweater detective, she wanted to buy yarn and they said, no, buy the mill. And in Setesdal, she is collecting old Norwegian sweaters, but she also works with this primitive sheep. What I love about this technique is A, you don't have to use a prime spinner's fleece for it. And B, every time you process a fleece, you smooth out the variability in the color. And here, you just have it right there. And this is part of a vest that I've been knitting for way too long. But again, this is from this fleece, which I think is just staggeringly beautiful. Olive, she's got sort of a moored top and a black tail. And it's just gorgeous. And you can keep that. If we processed it and carded it and spun it, it would turn into lump, basically. So, not very interesting. Okay, that's the inspiration. And then, I don't know, anybody want to read? I can run real quickly through these if anybody's interested. Because they tell you different things about sheep and Icelandics. Elizabeth Abbott wrote a master spinner's book about the Icelandic fleece. She's in Ontario. It was reprinted within recent memory, and I don't know about the accessibility of it. Shepherd's Sight, A Farming Life, we just read, and it's not a bad rundown of a farmer's year. I mean, there's a whole shelf of books by women who've left high-flying jobs. And
Microphone, Jane? Sorry.
can do, yes. There's a whole shelf of books by women who leave high-flying jobs in the city to find their bliss raising sheep or apples or bees. Some of them are ridiculous. This one's really very good, and it gives you a nice idea of the shape of a year. James Rebanks inherited the family farm in Beatrice Potterland, Herdwick, What? The Lake District, thank you, I was having a moment. Yeah, and he now advised, I mean, it's very quiet, and he's somebody who is not thrilled to have inherited a tough farm. He, if you read it, consults with the United Nations on transhumanists, I think. So it's quite interesting, and he wrote a second book. If you want to know about commercial processing, no, that's not the one. This is Peggy Orenstein's COVID project, and it's quite interesting, and it'll give you every step of the project, from introducing herself to the sheep, who was named Martha also, to making a sweater. And she's written other books. She's quite interested in the sociology of women. So it's a different book and interesting. Clara Parks writes about buying a bale of hay, or a bale of wool, excuse me, and getting it processed. Okay, and where she found people and where she couldn't find people to do the process. And it takes you through the commercial processing of a bale of wool. And then Robert suggested Ordinary People, which is by Iceland's Nobel laureate, Halldór Laxness. And I find it rather bleak. It's about sheep farming in Iceland. So, there you go. One more slide, I think. Yes, local resources for you. Right here in Victoria, we've got a bunch of members of the Victoria Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild. And if you're interested, if you have questions you want to ask somebody, you can call them up and they'll connect you. There's equipment you can borrow, you can rent. There is a library. They offer introductory spinning courses and introductory weaving courses, and congenial people with vast amounts of information. So you'll see a lot of them. They'll have a table tomorrow at Vibrations, the Fiber Festival. Inter-Island Sheep Breeders has come back to life, and they're doing a terrific job offering workshops on actually handling sheep. Things you need to know, how to do a necropsy of a sheep, which some days you need to know shearing, lambing, barn organization, veterinary stuff. The Canadian Wool Collective, Anna Hunter, is working very hard to reestablish infrastructure that is pretty much gone. All the fleece in Canada, we're told it's terrible, never mind, send it here for 37 cents a kilo and we'll ship it to China. Well, China has more wool now than it wants or needs. And so there's a lot of work being done to establish local processing and appreciation. And I say again to the Beehive, thank you very much. And how did I not put, I did put the fiber shade on, I just forgot to read it. The Vancouver Island Fiber Shed is here, an umbrella group, and Sarah, one of our guiding spirits, is here if you want to know more about it. They're doing terrific work. And also, if you want to just know about Icelandic sheep, the Icelandic Sheep Breeders of North America. They're now US based, and so some of their concerns about shipping, management, wormers is American focused, but boy, that's where you find people completely focused on American sheep, or Icelandic sheep. Okay, I think that's everything. This is Carol. I think is wonderful. So, questions?
I'm really curious about the psychology of sheep. They seem to be more intelligent than we thought.
I think so. You know, I tell people, okay, I negotiate contracts, I pack my suitcase, I get on a plane, I go do the contract for, you know, two weeks to 7 weeks. I pack myself again, I get back on the plane, I get my check, I buy the cheap groceries. Who's stupid here? You know, and they have been bred over time for particular characteristics. You know, if you want there are some that are big hunks of meat that are drug addicts, you know, to keep the flock healthy. But these guys are great generalists. You know, they live on a rock in the middle of the North Atlantic, and we were startled in our first landing because we had a friend at one of the landings of the English breeds, and he said, "Run, lamb, bunch of lambs lying around for a week thinking of ways to die." And there is a little bit of that in some of the English breeds. They really do need to be coaxed along. They're kind of demanding. These guys, we just looked, and they get dropped, they stand up, they nurse. Within 12 hours, they're doing experiments with grass. They're not getting any nutrition from it for a while. But we have one ewe, and I watched her lick off a newborn, teach the firstborn to nurse and deliver a triplet simultaneously. It was crazy. These guys are great. They're really good. So I think they're pretty smart. And when people say, sheep are stupid, I think that's probably more about their level of understanding than the sheep.
Yeah.
Is that enlightenment? Questions? Everybody's stupefied.
I don't.
How long does a piece last? If you don't deal with it 1 year, is it still really last?
The oils in a fleece will cross-link and become more difficult to get out over time. And if you're not storing it well, you can get yourself moths. Okay. If you clean it and put it away properly, everybody's got old wool lying around. Everybody in this room. Almost everybody's room. If it's not treated well, it'll break down. You know, wool is a long chain polymer. If it's hot, if it's damp, it'll get moldy. If it's directly in a plastic bag for a long time, the plasticizers of the bag can discolor it. So things can happen. Use it. At least clean it and put it into a pillowcase if it's going to be in plastic for a long time. Do I care that it be white linen? No. Something it can be polyester or blend, whatever. But just so it's not in direct contact with the plastic bag. Sarah?
You were talking about sheep names and the letters. And I was wondering, is the letter dictated by the Icelandic Sheep Registry, or is it that you guys are incrementing every year? Because I know other farmers who use that as well, and they are on N this year. So I was wondering.
It's not us, and it's not the Icelandics. It's the Canadian Sheep Registry.
So theoretically, all sheep born this year have a name that starts with N.
Not have a name, but they have a registration number.
Yes, that starts with N.
And if you see them named, if you find sheep named Nigel and Nora and Nicola, maybe they're lambs, but ours aren't. We lost track of that.
I love it actually when I go help at shearings, because then I know how old they are.
Yes.
This one farm, you know, she she uses the letters to name everybody, and so I don't have to ask her, how old is this sheep? I can just say, oh, that's a 4-year-old.
Yeah, and on some farms, the rams are tagged on one ear and the ewes on another. I mean, there are ways, but we're small enough that we're not too fussed about it. Rachel?
You made one mention of vinyl letters, that, is there a variation year to year on plasma content as well, or is that?
There's big variation in breeds. You know, some are absolutely sticky and wonderful, and these guys don't have a fruit. And as it will break down, a fleece from 1 year will have lamellin that will change over time. Do the sheep, they probably do. I mean, my hair changes through the year. And I expect theirs does, but I haven't really tracked it.
It's a waterproof, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
protection, so it's an adaptation. So we have a.
they have that great long outer coat, the tall for shedding the rain, yes. Yes.
There's a mill over the salt spring. Do you have any details about that?
I think they're only doing private work on that, on Salt Spring. They used to do custom work for people. And I think the mill was bought, and last time I talked to her, she was doing her own stuff. Sarah may have more.
I missed the beginning of that, but,
Salt Spring Mill.
oh, I don't know what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think she's just doing her own stuff.
Yeah, if it's an operation at all, it's not
accessible.
commercial.
And probably, I mean, people really are skittish about double-coated fleece. I wouldn't, they had smallish equipment, and it wasn't, that's not true. I saw that same equipment in Iceland. So they could process double-coated fleece, but back when they were doing custom work, we would send Icelandics to shows, and judges would say, I've never seen one of these, I have no idea what to do. So, yeah, really. Well, you know, you judge, you get, I don't know anything about anything but Icelandics. I would be terrible to be judging. So we all have our own expertise, so. Yes, feel free, and thank you again to everybody who came and to those who brought all this great stuff. Any other questions?
Here's the one.
Let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.